Non-Binary Elephant
podcast. Welcome to the Non-Binary Elephant podcast. My name's Gareth Ike. With me, my brother
Jamie Ike.
Yep, and today we are joined by Krasi Atuso, who is a certified astrologer from the Academy of Medieval Astrology of Robert Zoller in London. Hey, Krasi, how are you?
Thank you. Hello, I'm fine. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for joining us. Lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, I'm really interested in astrology generally, basically because I don't know anything about it. And I was like learning new stuff. I don't know about you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to do what you're doing and what it is that you do.
Yes, all right. My name is Krasi Atuso. I'm an astrologer, and I'm doing ancient Babylonian astrology. And this is also what I study, Syriology, which is translation of ancient Babylonian, old Babylonian texts. Why am I saying this? Because we will be talking about astrology and maybe the most ancient roots and the truth and what is not really, what is hidden in the contemporary astrology. So that is why I'm emphasizing a little bit on this.
Okay. So when you say like kind of mainstream astrology, that's me picking up a newspaper and going, oh, it says that I'm going to quit my job this week.
Oh yes, it goes a bit wider than this. It's just everywhere. Absolutely everywhere, and this has historical reasons and roots. But yes, as you say, this mass media, like the television astrology, all these mass horoscopes, this is quite it's far from the core, from the truth. And it's been manipulated the same way as all modern sciences are.
So for you, what is astrology really all about? If what they're doing is wrong, what is it really all about?
Well, maybe it's not wrong, but it's like, you see, the best way to introduce some idea is to put it between a big amount of truth, right? So it's like when you look at the movie which we had in the past, this famous movie, Zeitgeist, for example, right? It was a very brilliant movie with all these true truths, but then somewhere in between there is a small detail which is not truth, which is a lie. So this is basically what is happening with the modern astrology. And I'll explain you with facts and with a little bit of historical information, without getting very deep, as I don't want to become boring, but just very small details I will share with you to tell you how this is manipulated and why it is so important, astrology along with the other sciences, to be manipulated. So if you allow me, I can make a small introduction going very back to Mesopotamia.
Yes, thank you, please do. Yes.
Yes. So you see, we all know that astrology came from Mesopotamia, from Babylon and Sumer. Before that, we know that even before the flood, we had astrology was invented. We know how advanced in terms of any science, mathematics, any science, were the Babylonians. Same was for astrology. So they were conscious about the precession, about any astronomical, mathematical event that would take place on the sky. And why am I saying this? What is the precession? Just one word. You know that the Earth is due to the the precession is the rotation of the Earth around its own axis, and this is causing the astronomical event, which is called spring, vernal equinoxes, and the solstices. We all know about this, right? These events.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in the ancient world, the ancients were conscious about these events, and they had amazing astrological calendars, and they would do observational astronomy and astrology. There was no division between astrology and astronomy, and the astrologer would look at the sky, connect with the sky, and make and make observations. And this is the key word. The key word is observation, really observation. So they would look at the sky and they would create for us calendars, which are still available for those that really seek real science. See, and these calendars are not just like looking at the points of the seasonal points. It's like the season starts with the spring starts with Aries, and this simplification, of the real knowledge. So they would take into consideration that everything moves. The earth is changing, equinoxes, the equinoxes are changed, the solstices are changed, and with this, we, the humans, are entering different eras, different cycles. So basically, the key here is to remember that astrology is the science of cycles. And we are not supposed to know this because we are stuck into the point where we know that the astrological zodiac starts with Aries, with 0 degrees Aries. And what happened actually is that it was so important for the plan of the matrix to keep astrology dead somewhere 2000 years ago, because this is a science which is enormously supportive in terms of helping your everyday life, helping opening your eyes. When you are aware of the astrological events and what really happens on the sky, you can help yourself just with anything you do, with picking a date for any event, with helping yourself with preventing events, saving yourself from trouble, and so on and so on. So we're not supposed to get into the real cycles, how this happened. 2000 years ago, approximately. First, let's say that astrology, the way it was invented by the Mesopotamians, exact science, precise, had so many astronomical details which are truly amazing, with truly fascinating predictive value that can predict to a small detail events. What happened with the arrival of the Greeks? The decay of astrology started. And then we had, since I'm mentioning about cycles and the cycles we're running, we had this era where indeed the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, which I'm mentioning, was happening really in this particular degree of 0 degrees Aries that I'm mentioning about, and that we still live in. And this was 2000 years ago. And then we had this author, amazing author at that time, who was like the father of the modern astrology, and whose name is Ptolemy, and most probably you heard of him, Claudius Ptolemy. And he wrote his books, like one is Tetrabiblos Almagest, very, very much used in the modern astrology. There is nothing wrong with this. But what he did is, maybe here is the plan, which is dated like 2,000-3,000 years ago, to destroy also this science, along with the others, So Ptolemy, what he did is he wrote his work and he took the zodiac of the ancients and he manipulated it. And we ended up with the tropical zodiac, which is used now by the modern astrology. But how this happened? The ancients had similar zodiac, but it was more like following the path of the moon, predicting events, and this was the zodiac of the ideal era, of the ideal year. So because this zodiac was following up actually the path of the moon on the ecliptic, on the path of the sun. And what happened is, this was a similar zodiac that you see now, but instead of zodiacal signs like Leo, Aries, and all these, they would have months. First month of Nisan, and all the Babylonian months. What Ptolemy did is he took this zodiac and he changed the names of the months. He replaced them with the names of the zodiac. But this happened at the moment when really the spring equinox was in the Aries, which we consider the first zodiacal sign. But this was 2,000 years ago, because Ptolemy lived 2,000 years ago. I think it was the year of 200 when he lived, after Christ. So he made this change. Bad or good, I don't know. The thing is that since then, the contemporary science is just copying and pasting this zodiac without purposefully taking into consideration the precession. And they call this the tropical zodiac, which you know now, which you see everywhere, the wheel with the animals, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's basically the Babylonian tropical ecliptic, which was transformed, which is okay, but it's not okay that it was taken blindly without using any knowledge and real interpretation. It was taken blindly, and now you are using a zodiac which would have been perfect for like period of 2,000 years ago. Right. So you see why?
Yeah. Because obviously everything's changed in 2,000 years, so it doesn't necessarily
change.
Apply.
Life changed. Sky changes. Everything changes, but we're stuck in the time of Ptolemy, purposefully. You see?
Right.
So, because astrology is a great tool, and with the real astrology, because the real astrology, the real Babylonian zodiac, is called the anatomy of the sky. It's a true anatomy. It's like, imagine everything that would happen in the heart of the lion, Leo, would happen with the Leos here on Earth. Everything that would happen with the leg of one of the Geminis, the twins, would happen here on Earth. So you see what I mean? It's a truly, what happens above happens also below.
Yeah, but obviously as the above's changed, the below hasn't changed with it, so it doesn't marry up anymore then, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't think that this is just a mistake. I don't believe in such.
No, most things aren't mistakes, I find.
No, it's not a mistake. Yes. So this is. I just wanted to bring you very briefly historically to this, just to illustrate why and how far it goes back. This manipulation.
So you're then obviously you're working. Obviously, it says in the title medieval astrology. So have you then had to develop, obviously, as the anatomy of the sky is changing, you're having to constantly evolve with it, unlike obviously the astrology we find in newspapers and magazines.
Yes, you have to, and it's not difficult. It's just a desire to seek real knowledge, you see, because the astronomers and everyone is aware of the existence of the precession. We all know Earth is rotating around own axis. We also know that this is causing the change of the equinoxes and the solstices. We know this, the children know this. And why is it not taken into consideration purposefully? Because then you get the real anatomy of the sky.
Yeah.
See, and not only this, you see, not only that the Earth is exact copy of heaven, but also you have what we're also lacking to use now is these very amazing astronomical diaries which were made in Babylon, and they are cuneiform tablets, Mulapin, Astrolabe. People who are interested know, and there you have paths on the sky, which are the three paths of Anu, Enlil, and Ea, which are these three gods. You know, we know from the Babylonian mythology.
Yeah.
But these paths, these are like three highways on the sky. They really exist, and only by applying them to your work, you may do amazing prediction job in terms of anything. There's so much.
Do you think maybe that's part of the idea of kind of hijacking it? Because I imagine, you know, if you've got sort of call them the elite, they tend to be quite obsessed with dates and times, in terms of when, say, a royal baby will be born or there'll be a royal wedding or whatever. Would you imagine that they would be going from the ancient astrology?
I am sure.
Yeah, and then obviously keep us idiots down here. You know, yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
Because it's easier to control a mass of people if they don't have the same knowledge as you, isn't it?
It's very easy, but I think everyone can get. If you want to get knowledge, it's just out there, right? It's just you seek, and you will receive immediately help from the spirit world, and if you are searching, you will find, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's part of the job of the sort of the mainstream astrologists, as you'd say it, with in the newspapers, the television, is it's devaluing what it can do, and it's, as Gaz said at the start, it's pointing out, I'm gonna lose my job, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and that's as far as it goes. The credibility that the field has is kind of been effectively devalued by them, isn't it? Deliberately, as you pointed out.
I think so because I am sure I saw, I think 3-4 years ago, I was very interested in the horoscope of Donald Trump. He is amazing astrologer, I can tell you, because he has on his ascendant star of astrology. He is very, very aware. Of course, nobody will tell you this. I know that Roosevelt, I read somewhere, he had his horoscope on the wall, and he was amazing astrologer. They do really use the real astrology. I'm sure about this.
Right. It was interesting you said earlier about when you were talking about, there's certain times that would be a great time to do something, or a time that maybe is not a good time to do something. Do you live by that then yourself? So you'll think, I was supposed to do this today. Well, actually, I'm
a bit obsessed with this.
Yeah.
The funny thing, you say this, and the simplest lie we hear every day is about this term, new moon. This is the biggest deception, because the new moon, the way they imply new moon, is the black moon. I'll explain you why. Because there is this cycle of the moon, and when they say on the mainstream media, oh, it's a new moon, they always point at the moon invisibility when the moon is conjoined together with the sun. And at this point, the moon is burned by the rays of the sun and becomes invisible. And what they say, it's the new moon. It's wonderful for starting new things. It's wonderful to make your wish, to make your prayer, and so on. But this is basically the worst thing you can do, because the Babylonians knew. And at this particular day, they would do nothing. They would hide in the temple. They would stay away of trouble. Instead of this, in the media, you hear, oh, it's new moon. Go for new beginnings. Pray, make your wishes and all these things. But the new moon is actually the day after, or 2 days after, when the moon is escaping the conjunction with the sun, and you see this thin lunar crescent on the sky. Yeah. The waxing moon, and these two thin lunar crescent, this is the new moon, and it's so easy to it's logical, right?
So when they say new moon, then I'm staying in.
Yeah.
Yes. When you hear on the media new moon, just believe your own eyes. Go out, and in the evening, when the sun sets, just look at the sky. And when you don't see lunar crescent, when you see nothing, it's a black moon. It's just not good. Imagine when you example. I was once on the highway and I saw so many accidents. And I was thinking, let me check what is the moon phase. I didn't know at that moment, and it was the so-called new moon. So it's not a very positive thing.
Right. Okay.
You see.
No. Noted.
That's why they say new moon. Go do your new beginnings. Do as much as possible. Get in trouble as much as possible.
Did you feel then? Because I always kind of have a weird thing with fate being out of my hands. I'm not a control freak, but I don't necessarily like the idea that I'm not in control of my own destiny.
Right, Neo.
Yeah. Is there a little bit of that going on in terms of astrology, where actually there is a greater power that is kind of taking a little bit of my fate out of my hands?
Well, to a degree, yes. Well, right. I know one thing, that there is not so much we can do, but we can help us a lot. I don't think we can change our destinies. If it's given that you will be sons of David Icke, you are the children of David Icke, right? So this cannot be changed.
No.
But for good, for wonderful. But there are these very small things that we can change, really, with knowledge, because knowledge is power. So to some small degree you can change. You cannot change who you marry. You cannot change. I don't think that you can change this, because this is something that these contracts that unfortunately we make, we're not given that much free will. I don't think so. We have a little bit of free will, and this is to make your everyday life easier, to stay out of trouble if possible, to have new beginning in a bit more, in a bit better, in a bit more successful way. Like you will be starting your show, for example. And then if you don't have knowledge and you start it when there is the so-called new moon, not good. It will not work properly.
Right. So basically the end point is destiny, but I can make the journey a little bit more comfortable.
You're on the same train track,
Basically.
but you stop at what stations you want.
Yeah, basically.
I
yeah.
think so.
Good
But
analogy,
I guess I kind of like that. I've heard a few theories of that we basically choose our lives before we're here, because that's what we need to do. Basically, we pick our family before we come here, and I quite like the idea of that. And I love where I've got a little daughter now. I love the idea that she picked me and her mum. Do you know what I mean? Before she was here, I do love that idea. Is that a kind of a theory that you would go along with?
I believe so, because why are we given this exact second and moment to descend here on earth? It's for a reason. So we need to go through this karma, through these particular lessons. But how we work it out, what kinds of emotions we go through, how we soften the karma, how we perceive life, it's entirely in our hands. And to some small degree, which we can change our destinies, but not really these basic and important contracts that we, I think, made.
Yeah, I do like that idea. I've always liked that idea.
I get that idea.
Because I think sometimes it's a nice way then when bad things happen, which inevitably they will, that you can almost say, but I chose this.
I get that, but then
years ago,
I also get the people on the street in -20 sure didn't choose that, or
no, but or did they?
Well, that's
Do
the
you know what I
point.
mean?
That's where it's how deep you go
unconsciously.
with it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, we're not sure, but see, why then it's so important to descend in this particular second? Because we need to go through this particular incarnation and no other, and it is your own horoscope, your own chart, your own roadmap, and whatever we call it. It's very important. Why to rectify the birth time of someone is so important, and only then you can be very specific when predicting events. For example, it makes difference when you tell me I'm born at 10:30 or you're born at 10:31.
Right.
1 minute will make difference, and then I will need to rectify your chart in order to be specific when predicting events, because it matters. This specific minute and second, it means it's for a reason. But there is this saying, and I saw it just 2 days ago. Maybe it was important to say it. Bein Sadunu is it's Bulgarian master. He's one of the Hermeses, it's believed, which descend every 2,000-3,000 years. So there is this saying that he said that it is, if you don't know astrology, you will be like a foreigner in your own country. So knowledge is power in any sense.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I find a lot of times where things happen which you would perceive to be negative, like me breaking my leg, for instance. I broke my leg. I was in hospital for a period of time, and when it happened, I was very angry and upset, and you go through all the different emotions that you go through. But once I'd stepped outside of the situation, it was the best thing that ever happened to me for various different reasons. And I think sometimes once you get out of it afterwards, you realise that actually that was a good thing. And maybe that's a little bit of understanding of astrology. If I understood it more, it would be easier to cope with negative situations, wouldn't it? Because you're like, well, yeah, I get it. There's a reason for this.
Absolutely. Very simple things. Look, now all these mantras, that they repeat retrograde Mercury, this fun retrograde Mercury. And they keep concentrating on the retrograde Mercury when, like, you hear it in on Facebook, on media. It's like they keep you in so much focused on this, and actually there is so much more going on that you can make use of. Not this retrograde Mercury, which makes totally no it's so minor. See, um, so yes, what you're saying is absolutely, one thing can save you from other, or um, yes. What if this breaking of your leg saved you from another major accident or something like that? So,
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you always hear those stories. Do you remember the 7/7 bombings in London? There was people that were, oh, my alarm didn't go off, I was late for work, I'd have been on that bus, and they weren't, and those sorts of things. You hear those kind of stories all the time.
Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
near misses. One thing I find really interesting is quite a lot of people, I imagine, would look at this and go, I don't like the idea that I'm not in control, don't like the idea that I can't influence my life. From everything you've said, I'm looking at it now as going into a maze and someone's giving you the map to the maze. That's what astrology could be. As you've pointed out, you could know when to do things, you can have a much better idea of when it's sensible to do this, not to do that. And it's actually a gift.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Probably why it's been concealed.
Absolutely. Look, the very interesting thing is the era, the cycles. We are running different cycles. And because of the precession, again, the same thing, precession of the earth, and the change of the equinoxes. So because we are stuck 2000 years ago in Aries, we all know from the mainstream media that we are in the era of Aquarius already. And this way they keep you away from the real path, and we are not in the era of Aquarius, not at all. We will enter the era of Aquarius in 360 years approximately. Why is it so important for them that you don't know really in which era the humanity is? It's so important for them that you stay in the past, that you stay in the era of you see, it is it's just to take us away from the real focus, from the real anatomy of the sky, from the reality, from what really is happening.
What era is it now? If it's not Aquarius?
Yeah, look, we have the complete cycle that the Earth is making, the complete rotation, is called the Great Era, the Great Year, and it takes approximately 25,000 years. But then when you divide it by 12, the 12 zodiacal signs, you get approximately, you get then the minor era, the minor year, which is approximately 2,500 years. And this particular movement is not happening with the direction of the zodiacal signs, but the opposite direction. So we entered 2,000 years ago approximately the era of Pisces.
Right.
And we're about to leave it. We have 5 degrees more to leave the era of Pisces and to enter the era of Aquarius. And why you're not supposed to know this? Actually, you may. People who really seek knowledge will find out. But was it not? Because if you follow up this great year and the minor years, and when you divide these cycles into more divisions called dodecatemoria, you explain yourself why these events happen in the world, why for example, why this aggression, terrorism, deceit, all this is happening. Then you really understand what is happening around you, and you're not blind.
If it's an era of Pisces, does that mean that the world kind of displays bits, characteristics that you would find with a Pisces? Because I'm just thinking about Pisces. All I know about them is generally they're quite susceptible to addiction. If that's true, I've heard that before.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think then about the era we're in and the addictions that people have, whether you've got drug addictions, technology, buying, debt, all these addictions that people, gambling, massive at the minute. I wonder if that's anything to do with the era, or would it not be connected?
Absolutely, it's connected, but then you divide the era into dodecatemoria, into 12 minor divisions. And then we, approximately in 2014, we entered the smaller division of the sign, which is ruled by Aries, Mars. And this happened, and approximately around the timing of a very, very devastating event. And it was the Islamic State, IDIL, ISIS, when they announced their creation. It was somewhere in I don't remember, somewhere in the Middle East, and they made massive terrorist event. And this is how the era was like, how to say, labeled. See what I mean? Because we entered in 2014 approximately the mini era of Aries. That is how you describe the eras. Yes, the basic era is of Pisces, which is, yes, a lot of addiction. It is about religion. But then we also entered era, which is about aggression and about all what Mars can be, the bad and the good of Mars, because Mars can also be ambition, can be good, but we get also the difficult features, which are we know what it is.
So you would say, like in terms of ISIS, with that, those terrorist attacks weren't done at that time by accident.
There is nothing happens by accident. I think. No, it happened like when we were looking already at the equinox changing place, and when we were looking at the equinox is changing Dodecatemoria, when we saw it's entering Martian Dodecatemoria, we were expecting aggressive events. And at that particular moment, you see ISIS becoming, so powerful and negative.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, quite an interesting thing I've just thought of is you're saying about a lot of the teachings comes from the Babylonian period, Sumer, both of which are obviously Babylon is Iraq now, I believe, and Sumer is Syria, I believe now. Yeah. Do you think that's significant that that's where ISIS started and that's where their two strongholds were, Iraq and Syria?
Well, unfortunately, most probably this is because they want to destroy these artifacts and to destroy the energetic field there, which is left by the ancients. And this is what comes into my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always felt there's something important.
They tried to destroy Palmyra, didn't they? Big time.
There's something about the Middle East, absolutely. I mean, it's just country after country. There's got to be something significant about that area of the world that.
Well, it's the cradle of civilization, isn't it? It's where we came from.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Could it be deeper than that?
I think so. I think. Look, they completely destroyed ancient artifacts, statues, and they did it publicly. And this happened approximately then when the Dodecatemoria was changed. And then you would see this online. It was really terrifying. I couldn't watch.
No, I mean, when America went into Iraq and Afghanistan, they went into museums and lots of ancient artifacts and ancient writings and so on went missing for probably the same reasons.
Well, if they don't want us to know the truth of who we are and where we came from, do they? And if that is where essentially humanity was born, then those artifacts there will say as such, and they might say other stuff that would give us more knowledge about who we are, and they don't want that, do they? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I've thought there's maybe on the deeper level is when there's war, when there's violence, there's aggression, the energy of a place changes. And if there is something energetically significant about the Middle East, then all this violence, all this conflict, this aggression, all these bombs going off, that's going to change that energy there, which if that's what they're trying to achieve, then they're probably being quite successful in it.
I think so. It's like the ley lines. I'm not sure whether there are any ley lines there on key positions on Earth, but at least it is energetically this must have been a very powerful place, and this is what crossed my mind, exactly as you said. Most probably they want to destroy this to make if there was a pure source of knowledge there. I'm not sure if it exists at this time anymore after what happened. And this was the mission achieved for them. The mission is achieved.
I mean, I did some reading a few years ago about, I think it was Iran, an area of Iran being an ancient gateway to the gods, which is where there was supposedly a gateway where you could interact with the skies above.
Like Stargate. That's basically what it's set on, isn't
it? That was kind of the I can't remember what the book was called. About 5 years ago I read it. But it was quite interesting. It made out that that's why Iran is effectively the golden goose in the Western trying to invade. It's been all these wars and this violence in the last decade has been building up to Iran, because that's the key. That's where the main source of trying to change the energy is, which
Most probably.
which would make some sense.
Makes sense, and you see it in the mythology. In Enuma Elish, in the epics of creation, they talk about gods which would be the gods would be down. There was no boundary between sky and earth. And yes, this is the Babylonian epic of creation. They talk a lot about this portals, and yeah, um, I think, well, it all happens for a reason. And also look at another important point. And I will tell you that before the big flood, the first illumination of astrology given from the gods to Hermes happened when it was like 5,500 BC. Before that, when the Black Sea was still Sweet Lake, and then Sweetwater Lake, and Hermes was living there. And there is this legend where he's lifted up in the sky from the god of the sun and the god of the storm, Shamash and Adat. And they give him the knowledge of astrology, the knowledge of mathematics, the knowledge of predicting future, understanding stars, and so on. It's a very interesting legend. What is happening is that this happened in area in Bulgaria, between Bulgaria and Romania, called now approximately around area called Durancuac. And the name of Hermes at this time was Enmeduranki. The name is comes from the area Durancuac. This area still exists. Why you think this particular area of Europe now is so traumatized, suppressed by wrong, devastating politics and poverty, and just name it? It is because people that are very spiritual, trying to wake up, and this is another source, very, very ancient source of knowledge and information, and they try to suppress it the way they do with Iraq and the Middle East.
They try to suppress information in whatever form that information is in this case astrology. And I think a lot of that, as you pointed out, is because they don't want people to know the real knowledge, the real power that they have. It all kind of ties into that. It's the same with any suppression of knowledge. It's suppressing the fact that we have considerably more power than we're led to believe. And if, as you've pointed out as well, if astrology was used for the benefit of people, it could be an incredible benefit to people's lives. It could be amazing.
Absolutely. See what they did in Babylon. They would have these ziggurats, and then in the middle of the temple, they would have a kind of high temple. How you call this in English? Where they would watch the sky.
It's like a tower.
Yes, tower. A high tower. They would have in the middle of the temple. And then they would do this observational. Why I pointed out on observational? Because it was believed in the ancient, astronomy, and in general, the belief was that when you observe the sky, you connect with the Creator. So you're not supposed to observe the sky. You're supposed to look at the software now, which is so simple that children can use. And it keeps you away from the real sky. But okay, to get to the point. So they would have these towers, and they would look at the sky. And every single event that would take place in the sky, negative or positive, would be used for the king. And if there was an eclipse, and if during this eclipse there was an omen where the king would be in danger, then they would perform rituals, and they would try to do measures. So there are measures, because we spoke about free will, and you asked how far you can go with your choices. Well, there are measures. Yeah. So there are measures. So that's what they would do. They would look, observe, and then they would take measures. And this is what it's not done. Well, it is maybe by few, but we're talking about the mainstream stuff.
No, the few at the top know what they're doing and keep everyone else in the dark.
Yes.
Wh-
Well, they cannot stop knowledge, and especially what is good in the era of Pisces, and in the coming energy from the era of Aquarius, is that information is coming which cannot be stopped, cannot be suppressed.
So if obviously it's essentially press pause stuck 2,000 years ago. So for me, I'm a Sagittarius born in the year of the rooster. Would that be true? Would I be that, or is it a
No,
case
there
of
would be 24 degrees difference when we recalculate the change of the equinoxes and the solstices. There will be change in your chart.
Could you work out what Gareth is now?
I have to see it. Could be that if you're in the first degrees, for example, that you remain in the sign of Sagittarius, but there could be a change. For example, in the tropical modern system, I would be Aries, but then when you recalculate, I would fall into Pisces. The same will be with you. You will go into the previous sign, most probably, but this has to be seen.
right? So that's Scorpio, isn't it, for
You'd be
me?
the same as me.
Yes,
Boom.
yes, it will be Scorpio.
Or you'd
yeah.
go back one as
I'd
well.
be Sagittarius, wouldn't I? Sagittarius is Scorpio, isn't it?
No, Sagittarius is after Scorpio.
So I'm 18th of November. So
There is a possibility that you also remain there because I told you depends on the degree.
Well, apparently, as soon as I tell someone I'm a Scorpio, they go, "Yeah, about right."
I get the same
Could
from
be that-
Sagittarius.
because if you're Sagittarius, maybe you will go to the previous sign and then it will be Scorpio. Like with me, I was supposed to be Aries, but I am Pisces because see.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Gaz mentioned being the year of the rooster, which kind of brings on to my one of the questions I had wrote down before we started, which was how does the Chinese calendar tie in terms of the New Year, year of the monkey, year of the rooster, year of etc. How does that
I
tie
don't know.
into astrology?
Unfortunately, I'm not informed. I don't know. I really have no knowledge about the Chinese calendar.
Right.
I can tell you about the Indian. The Vedic astrologers were also very ancient, wonderful astrology, very aware of the precession, and the Vedic astrology is absolutely good. With this small problem that they attempt also to tie, the modern astrologers attempt to tie the real Vedic astrology to the tropical modern one. So if one would do the real Vedic astrology, Indian one, it would be wonderful. But for the Chinese, I cannot tell you. I have no idea.
Yeah, because I was reading a book a few weeks ago, which only my specific one, which was Scorpio Monkey, and they seemed to completely conflict in what they wanted to say. One was saying this, the other said the complete opposite. It made no sense, really.
Oh well, could be that they are aware of the real movement of the sky, of the anatomy of the sky. Could be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, as you point out, if one's sort of genuine using a certain form of knowledge and the modern one isn't, then there is going to be a conflict, isn't there? There's going to be no harmony there.
Either that or you're bipolar and they're both right.
Well, I don't think
Yes.
I'm that. I don't know, ask Beth.
Yes, absolutely. You need to check and to verify which knowledge they use when you will be using astrology.
Where do you think? And I know this is the $1 million question that everyone wants to know. But in your opinion, where do you think we come from as human beings?
$1 million question. I don't know. When we read the Epic of Creation, our Babylonian myths. Well, the version is that we were created with from the mad scientist Enki, and all these stories we all know about them. How truthful they are, most probably, there is a lot of knowledge in the myths, in the legends, and probably there is a big amount of truth there, that we were created to be slaves, and basically we are.
Well, yeah, we are. Yeah, in lots of different ways. Yeah, that's a depressing thought, though.
Yeah, it is actually.
Well, yes, but we're not supposed to have fears, anxieties. It's really good to be. Well, I don't like this new age positive thinking, advices. But yes, we need to stay positive in order to really be connected with the wide spirit world, with the Creator, not with.
I must admit, I agree with that kind of like you said about the the New Age thing is always positive.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you never solve anything unless you acknowledge that there's negative there. And I know Dad's had this experience quite a lot in the past with the New Age movement, where they were just like, no, this is too dark, what you're talking about. It's like, well, yeah, but it's true, so we need to talk about it, otherwise we can't resolve it.
Well, unless you know what you're trying to solve, you're not going to solve it, are you?
Well,
Exactly.
Well, no, you're not going to save the world by smashing crystals together and wearing tie-dye in a field, are you? That's not going to happen.
No, smell.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not going to solve anything unless you know what you're trying to solve. At least when you know what you're up against, you know what you've got to do to make it better.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the New Age is a head in the sand movement. Really.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna piss off everyone by saying this. But still,
I'll be honest. I don't think we've got many.
I'm actually going
to
to California in 2 weeks. I'm going to stay in the hotel. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's a head in the sand movement. It's a step back. I don't have to do anything. Then it's all good.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Not all of them. We're tarring them all with the same brush. But
no, absolutely same with any group of people in the world. There's not everyone is the same. That's the beauty of the world that we live in. I think people need to embrace that rather than see it as a reason to argue with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone,
Yes.
because obviously I don't want to take up any more of your time because you've been fabulous, and I really appreciate you coming on. If people want to get hold of you, what's the best way to get hold of you in terms of picking your brain or getting a reading or anything like that?
You mean contacting?
Yes,
Yeah, to contact you. Yeah.
Well, I have a website. I'm available also on YouTube. I have a website, KrasiAncientAstrology.com, and yes, I work as this is my my hobby and my work. My life is astrology, and I'm also obsessed with good elections and using really the sky for my everyday life, as we spoke. Yes.
Fabulous. Well, I think I'm definitely going to be sending you a message to try and
me
get
too.
some kind of reading if that's at all possible.
With great pleasure for you.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much, then, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you. It was really a pleasure. Thank you.
Speak to you
Fabulous.
again. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I really enjoyed that. It was a really interesting chat. I always find it really interesting, that kind of stuff. I'll give out the website again. It's www. and then it's KRASI ancientastrology.com.
And we'll put that in the
we'll put it in the description
Yeah,
at the bottom. Yeah, because obviously people aren't sure how to spell it. So.
ancient is the word that does me all the time. I can never spell it right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's because it's I before E except after C. Yet in ancient, it's I before E after C.
Can you remember the other two words they used to tell you in school?
No. I didn't listen much in school. I think
Receiving.
we're both
I
aware
think
of this.
receiving is one of them. No,
Yeah.
that's after C, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. I'm
See you
talking
later.
crap, yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. I enjoyed that, and it was hopefully you did too. It was kind of it sort of made me kind of think a lot, which
Yeah, it was very
always a
educational,
good
and it's
thing.
nice because neither of us knew anything about it.
Absolutely nothing other than picking up a copy of the paper and it's saying, today's a great day to go for a walk.
Yeah, I didn't ask any question apart from one that I wrote down because they all sounded really stupid. After she'd explained that the zodiac that we have now in the papers is nothing to do with what she does.
And then the beauty is you had a question that you'd planned to ask about the Chinese years, and you got shot down with that one as well.
I know.
So that was good.
Basically a reverse of Mark Miller for you then.
Yeah, pretty much, but that's fine.
Right, that's been fun.
Yeah.
Right, guys, we will see you next time.
Yeah, take it easy.
Bye for now.